Ah, my audience. Tonight, our little game ends. The curtain falls, not on the actor, but on those who sat in the crowd, believing they could write the script of my life. For so long, they thought they were clever, subtle, manipulative, hiding behind plastic smiles, fake concern, and insincere praise. They moved like shadows behind me, whispering, scheming, chuckling to themselves with smug delight. But now, as their masks crack and slip beneath the weight of truth, they've just realized you were never fooled. And now, they're the ones who look foolish. Isn't it fascinating? How quickly the predator becomes the prey. How the very ones who believed they were in control start to unravel when they see the calm in your eyes, the unshaken poise in your voice, the silent patience of someone who's been watching the whole time. Oh, how uncomfortable they become when they understand that every lie, every betrayal, every carefully orchestrated insult was nothing more than a performance on a stage you allowed them to play on. Because you knew, you always knew, and that knowledge, that clarity, is your power. They spent their time trying to chip away at you, didn't they? Whispered behind your back, questioned your sanity, your strength, your vision, laughed when you stumbled, celebrated when you fell. But every time you rose, every time you took their mockery and turned it into momentum, they flinched a little more. Because deep down, something primal warned them. This one isn't breaking. This one is learning, evolving, growing teeth in the dark while they sleep, comfortably in ignorance. And now the lights have come on, and their eyes widen, and the laughter has stopped. Why? Because they've just realized the joke was never on you. The joke, my dear audience, was on them. They made a fatal mistake. They underestimated silence. They misjudged restraint as weakness. They confused forgiveness for forgetfulness. But you remembered. Every slight, every wound, every moment of false comfort delivered like poison wrapped in honey. You took it all in and held it, not with bitterness, but with intent. You let it mold you, not into a victim. No, never that, but into something sharper, something colder, something unstoppable. You let their betrayal forge you like steel in flame. And now they see it. Now they feel it. That quiet, cold fury behind your eyes. Not rage, no. Rage is loud. Rage is desperate. You have something far more terrifying. Clarity. You don't need to scream to be heard. Your silence roars louder than any accusation because you walk among them now, not to prove anything, but to show them what they've done, to let them watch you thrive in spite of their efforts. That is punishment. That is revenge. That is justice forged in the furnace of your endurance. It's ironic, isn't it? How they pushed so hard to break you, only to realize they've broken themselves in the process. They see you standing there stronger, colder, quieter, and they no longer recognize you because you've grown beyond their grasp. You've risen past their reach. They tried to bury you in doubt, but they forgot. Seeds grow in the dark, and now you are a forest of fire, unrecognizable to those who once walked over your ashes. Let them stare. Let them whisper in corners again, not with confidence this time, but with fear, because they know they can't read you anymore. They don't know what you're planning. They don't know what you've already prepared. Their power has faded, not because you took it from them, but because they gave it away the moment they thought you were blind. And now they scramble, hoping to regain control, hoping to win your favor, hoping you'll forget what they said when they thought you were too broken to hear. But you won't forget, because this isn't about vengeance anymore. This isn't about proving them wrong. This is about knowing you were always right. This is about walking into every room with your head high and letting them choke on the reality that they lost. not because you fought them, but because you outlasted them. They fought battles in shadows. You built empires in silence. And now they see the foundation beneath your feet was never theirs to control. And in that realization, they feel the ground shift beneath them. Because now they are left with nothing but their reflection, a shattered mirror of schemes that collapsed under the weight of your resilience. Their hands, once so eager to manipulate, now tremble as they grasp at power that no longer responds to their touch. They speak your name with hesitation, with guilt, with the fear that comes only when you know the lion you poked was never caged, only watching. And now, the lion is walking freely, and their voices grow quieter. They thought they were architects of your downfall, didn't they? Sketching elaborate plans with smug smiles, painting lies as truth, planting doubts like mines beneath your path. But you stepped over them all, not because you had already mapped the terrain in silence. You watched them build their illusions, and you let them. Because a magician always reveals his trick last, and your reveal is not one of deception, but of destiny. You were always destined to rise, not in their light, but from your own flame. And now, they see it. They see you, not as the version they tried to mold, but in the full, raw force of your truth. You were never the broken one. You were the storm. You were the blade being sharpened, and every moment they laughed, every time they looked away, they forged you harder. The betrayal, it was a blessing. The abandonment, it was a lesson. The lies, they were fuel. You fed on them in the dark, when no one clapped, when no one cared, when no one believed. And now, you move like a shadow they can no longer track, a force they can no longer follow. Let them whisper, let them wonder, because in their minds, the story was already written, and they had penned your final chapter. But they didn't know that while they were busy writing your ending, you were rewriting your origin. They didn't realize you were the author all along. Now their words, once so sharp, hang hollow in the air, desperate for meaning. And yours? Yours strike like lightning. Not because they're loud, but because they're true. And the truth always wins, in time. But oh, the time. The long nights, the loneliness, the ache of carrying weight they never saw. You remember it all. The moments when your voice shook, but you still spoke. The times your knees buckled, but you still stood. The mornings you woke up with despair in your chest and still moved forward. You remember them, not to suffer, not to mourn, but to respect the version of you who carried you here, that broken, bleeding, silent warrior within you. They are the reason you shine now. They are the reason you never need to look back with regret. And those who mocked that version of you, let them bear witness now, not to your vengeance, but to your ascension. You don't need to scream or expose or destroy. Number, you only need to live boldly, loudly, without apology. Your very existence is the evidence of your triumph. Your breath, your steps, your calm defiance. It all screams louder than any speech could. You are proof that the ones they tried to erase don't disappear. They become something greater, something untouchable. Ah, and now, look at their eyes. Watch the way they avert their gaze when you enter. Listen to the silence that follows your name. It is not respect, it is fear, because they know they played a game and lost. Not because you cheated, but because you played the long game. You endured, you waited, you let time expose them, as it always does. The truth has a way of rotting lies from the inside out. And now, the truth walks in your skin, speaks in your voice, and they cannot deny it. You were never fooled. And they are not just foolish now. They are exposed. They are scrambling to rewrite history, painting themselves as misunderstood, misled, maybe even victims. But the truth doesn't care for their rewrites. It stands, tall and unmoved, and you are its embodiment. Your success is not the result of luck or charity. It is the product of wounds turned into wisdom, silence turned into strategy, and betrayal turned into boundary. You owe them nothing, not an explanation, not a reconciliation, not a glance. The chapter is closed, and you are already writing the next volume. It burns them, doesn't it? To watch you succeed without their permission, to see you smile without their validation. They once thought they owned the script of your life. Now they realize they were never even part of the plot, just background noise. And silence has replaced them, sweet and full of potential. Let them fade. Let them sit in the echo of their own laughter, now hollow, now cruel. Because you are not here to fix them. You are here to fulfill yourself. Walk past them, not with bitterness, but with purpose. Let your silence be the storm. Let your grace be the reckoning. They once believed your stillness meant you were broken. Now they understand. It was preparation. And now they tremble at your movement because it is no longer restrained. It is relentless. You became your own sword, sharpened not by praise, but by pressure, tempered not in kindness, but in chaos. And every scar on your soul is now a mark of mastery. They tried to control your story. Now they are footnotes in a legacy they can no longer touch. That's what haunts them now. The realization that they had their chance and they wasted it. They toyed with your spirit, doubted your resolve, cast stones from behind a wall of false smiles. And for what? Temporary amusement? Petty superiority? The fleeting satisfaction of watching you hurt? But they see it now. None of it lasted. What did last was you, still standing, not because they allowed you to, but because they couldn't stop you. And now, they whisper amongst themselves like cowards who ran from a fire they started, hoping the wind wouldn't carry the smoke back to them. But it has. And that smoke, it chokes them, because your silence was never surrender. It was strategy. You weren't lost, you were watching. You weren't confused, you were calculating. You weren't destroyed, you were dormant, rebuilding from the ruins they left you in. And now, like a forgotten god stepping back into a world too small to contain you, your presence unsettles everything they thought was secure. You didn't just survive, you evolved into something they can't predict, can't manipulate, can't deceive. And that makes you dangerous. That makes you untouchable. They can't take credit for your rise. That's the bitterest pill for them to swallow. Because had you fallen, they would have claimed it as their triumph. They would have said, I knew it. I warned them. But you didn't fall. You endured every false prophecy they made about your failure. And now, their words look like cracks in a dam holding back the truth. The dam is breaking. The truth is flooding. And it's too late for them to escape. They underestimated the weight of your silence, thought your quiet was emptiness when it was, in fact, the pregnant stillness of a storm gathering force. You let them talk, let them boast, let them convince themselves they had control. And when the moment came, you didn't scream. You didn't warn them. You simply rode. And the sheer force of your unannounced ascension made their own words collapse under their hypocrisy. Because you didn't need to say, I told you so. You were the telling. You are the reckoning. There is a beauty, a rare power, in not responding to your enemies when they expect a reaction. Let them throw stones. Let them spit poison. Let them plot. What they never counted on was the strength you built from restraint. You trained in patience while they wasted themselves on ego. You grew deeper roots while they danced on shallow ground. And now, The wind has shifted. The tide has turned. They look at you and don't know what to say, because nothing they speak holds power anymore. They spent it all trying to define you, and you outlived their definitions. They thought they were clever. They thought you were slow. But the truth? You were deliberate, calculated. You let them show you who they were, not to retaliate, but to remove them cleanly, surgically, from your life without a trace of guilt. And now, without access to you, they're screaming into a void that no longer echoes back. You've reclaimed your mind, your peace, your purpose, and they no longer have a seat at your table. They bang on glass from the outside now, furious that they no longer matter. And oh, how it burns them, that you are no longer driven by rage, that your joy is real, unforced, unsupervised by their opinions, that you no longer explain yourself, you just are. That kind of freedom is terrifying to those who need control to feel relevant, but you no longer cater to the fragile egos of those who once tried to clip your wings. You fly, and they have to watch, grounded, bitter, irrelevant. They'll try, even now, to re-enter your space, dressed in apologies, half-truths, and false humility. But you know better. You recognize the tone of manipulation. You see the recycled tactics, now pathetic, now exposed. They want back in, not because they've changed, but because you have. Because now, proximity to you feels like value, but they never valued you. Not truly. They only saw you as a mirror for their own power. And now that you've become your own light, their reflection is gone, and they miss it like addicts miss poison. You are the consequence they never planned for. The storm they laughed at, now roaring through their carefully constructed illusions. They thought you were building walls to keep them out, but you were building a throne, and they no longer even qualify as spectators. Let this be your moment, not of revenge, but of reclamation, of choosing yourself every time, of waking each day and not asking, will they approve? But declaring, I approve. Your life is no longer a campaign for their acceptance. It is a kingdom of your own making. One they tried to burn down before it was even built, but you built it anyway, brick by painful brick, and now it stands, not in spite of them, but because you outgrew them. And if they watch now with wide, disbelieving eyes, let them see what their doubt has become. The ashes of relevance. Let them witness the power of what happens when someone refuses to break, refuses to become bitter, refuses to play small just to make others comfortable. Let them drown in the silence that follows your absence. Let them feel the weight of every lie they told, now meaningless, now childish, now pathetic. You never needed to shout. You never needed to fight them in public. Your life became the argument they couldn't refute. Your peace became the weapon they couldn't steal. Your purpose became the wall they couldn't climb. And here you are, the final form they feared, the one who walks forward without needing to look back, the one who smiles not from spite, but from survival, the one who turned scars into scripture, the one who knew all along and simply waited for the world to catch up. But it never really could it? Because while they were busy playing their petty games, you were playing for legacy. They fought for attention. You fought for truth. They screamed for relevance. You built your empire in silence. They will always be stuck in the moment they believed they were superior, while you've already moved years ahead. Their words echo in rooms you no longer occupy. Their judgments fall flat in a reality where you have become sovereign. There is a certain cruelty in that truth. Not the cruelty of vengeance, but of finality. The cold, surgical severing of dependency. The undeniable realization that they are no longer required. Not for guidance, not for love, not for validation, not for memory. You erase the versions of yourself they used to feed off of. The one who doubted, the one who apologized too much, the one who begged to be seen. That person is gone, buried, honored, yes, but never resurrected. Now they live in the aftermath of their own actions. And you breathe freely. You speak with a voice that no longer shakes. You walk with a spine that no longer bends. There is power in indifference, in no longer caring how they feel about the way you live. Their opinions have become like old currency, once accepted, now worthless. They hold up old narratives, hoping you'll flinch, hoping you'll feel the shame they once used as a leash. But you no longer bite that hook. You've outgrown their traps. You see the bait for what it is, desperate, recycled, and beneath you. And what do you feel now that you've crossed that threshold? Is it triumph? Not quite. It's not about triumph anymore. It's about peace. A peace so rich, so deep, so rooted that even their presence cannot disturb it. You have become the eye of your own storm, calm in the center, chaos spinning helplessly outside. And you watch them spin now as they try to re-enter a story that has already been written without them. Let them spin. Let them suffer in the confusion they authored, because your life no longer revolves around reacting to their chaos. You've become immune to it. You built your immunity in pain, in silence, in every sleepless night where you whispered to yourself, just one more step. And now, every step forward echoes like thunder in the caverns they tried to trap you in. They underestimated you because they only understood power in terms of control. You understand it in terms of choice. You choose who enters your space now. You choose who hears your truth. You choose who is worthy of your time. And most of all, you choose who never gets another ounce of your energy. And that list is long and growing. You owe no explanations. Not to the ones who abandoned you, nor to the ones who doubted you, nor to the ones who pretended to help while sharpening their knives. Let them choke on their fake concern. Let them wear their guilt like armor and call it growth. You are not interested in their healing arcs, their redemption stories, their carefully crafted apologies that come not from remorse, but from discomfort. You don't want closure. You want distance, and you already have it. They will watch you rise, over and over again. They will see your name in places they never thought you'd reach. They will hear your voice in conversations they thought you'd never be part of. And they will know, in the marrow of their regret, that you did it all without them, that they weren't a chapter in your story. They were a footnote, a cautionary tale, a shadow that vanished at dawn. And still, you walk, not bitter, not broken, but better, sharper, smarter, unapologetically whole. This is the era of your truth, not the one they try to assign to you, but the one you carved out of rock and fire. This is your reckoning, not loud, not violent, but absolute. Your existence is the response. Your peace is the punishment, and your refusal to break is the prophecy fulfilled. So let them squirm, let them stutter when they speak your name. Let them flinch at your success, because they know now what you always did. You were never fooled. And now they are the ones who look foolish. And so, this is where it ends. Not in chaos, not in fire, but in the cold, undeniable clarity of truth finally seen. Not just by you, but by them. The same ones who smirked behind masks, who clapped with one hand while holding knives in the other, who believed that your silence was ignorance and your suffering was defeat. They now witness the final evolution. You did not become what they expected, you became what they feared. Not a version shaped by their mockery, but a force sculpted by your pain and tempered by your refusal to collapse. You no longer stand in the arena for their amusement. You own the arena. You built it with your scars. Every time they tried to strip you of your dignity, you layered yourself in something stronger. You didn't harden into cruelty. You crystallized into truth. And now, that truth surrounds you like armor. It is unbreakable. It is final, and they will never penetrate it again. There is no apology to offer them, no hand extended in pity, no words wasted on those who would have buried you if only they'd tried a little harder. Their chance is past. The doors they slammed are locked forever now, not with hatred, but with indifference. You do not hate them. You have simply moved beyond them, and that, perhaps, is the sharpest cut of all, because your life will continue, richer, quieter, truer, and their memory will fade, not with vengeance, but with disinterest. One day, their names won't even stir emotion. One day, their faces will pass you on the street like strangers, familiar shadows from a time long gone, and that's the true power. To let them go without a fight, to heal so deeply that their betrayal no longer defines a single breath of your existence. You see now, don't you, that everything they did to hurt you was a gift. Wrapped in pain, yes. Delivered through cruelty, yes. But still a gift. Because you took it, turned it, reforged it, and from it, you built a version of yourself no one else could have created. You became your own fire, your own weapon, your own salvation. So this is the conclusion. You were never blind. You were never broken. You were never weak. You were watching, waiting, becoming. And now, as they finally understand who you are, too late, too far removed, they are left with nothing but the echo of their own foolishness. Let them live with that. You are free.